So the nominees for best VR or AR game are Hitman 3, I Expect You to Die 2, Long Echo 2, Resident Evil 4, and Sniper Elite VR. How do you feel,
Resident
Alex?
Evil 4. Resident Evil 4. That
Across
game,
the board?
across the board, that game has
Okay.
seen every kind of port and release it can since 2004, and it still holds up every damn time. Like the implementations it took to become on the VR were solid. It works. It still gives you a sense of horror, that tingling in the back of your neck. The gameplay is solid. For something that was being mapped from a GameCube to PlayStation to PC to being remastered, or not necessarily remastered, but upscaled on the PS4 and Xbox One, the game it holds up. And I can't think it is the Skyrim before Skyrim, where every time this game comes out, it'll still deliver. It won't be something where, oh man, it's just the same game. Like, yeah, it's the same game, and there's a reason why. Because the game
Now,
fucking works.
there is something kind of weird about the Resident Evil 4 VR. They did
Mhm,
actually make some changes. Like they've sort of gone through and changed some dialogue, and they've removed certain scenes that are a
mhm.
little bit. I don't want to say sexually explicit because they weren't, but they were a little bit suggestive. Um,
Cringeworthy with yeah.
yeah, but I mean, still, I think that's an interesting talking point in and of itself, and maybe we can talk about it in a later episode more in depth. But it's like one of those things. It's kind of weird, where it's like if you're gonna re-release a game, um, that's a discussion to be had. Where it's like, do you um, honor where the game came from, and do you preserve that,
Mhm.
or do you update it to make it a little bit more palatable to modern sensibilities? And I don't know if I necessarily agree with the idea of changing some of the things, especially when they're relatively harmless. Like um, a lot of the changes weren't really for things that were really questionable or like awful. They were just kind of like, like you do that.
I think you're right. I think at that point you're kind of dipping into a different conversation, because you could say that about quite a few things,
Yeah.
going on nowadays, but who's to know? Or like, yeah, a year from now, that could be like, no, that's probably not okay. So I think they're future proofing something, especially the way the how the climate, I guess I should say, has changed since 2004. I think they
Yeah.
did the right thing with updating it, just because it future proofs it. It's the last thing you need is an article coming out or critiquing a mistake, or I guess I can't even really call it that. What was okay in 2004 and comparing it to 2021, like, hey, this is not okay. And it's like, well, it was okay then when the game originally came out. So if you don't
Well,
change it, you're gonna be open to something.
that's what's so weird about it is I feel like even today, like it would be okay in media. Like it's okay in a movie.
It's
It's okay in a
true.
book. Why is it not okay in video games? Like, why do we
I,
hold video games to like such a like a more critical eye? And
I,
that's something that I think is something that video games have combated for a while, where we're kind of held to a more um uh, I don't want to say a higher standard. We're held to a lower standard. Like
I
people
think that
expect
comes
video
down
games
to
to be awful.
the audience, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking different audiences there. You're talking about the average moviegoer against the common everyday gamer. Uh, you're gonna have you have different people playing those games compared to the people that actually go out to movies.
Yeah.
Um, so you're catering to your audience with that. And like I said, it's future proofing. While it could be okay today and it was okay in 2004, doesn't mean it's okay in 2022. So you adjust with the times. Nothing wrong with it. I think it's a smart thing to do, so you're not tarnishing the legacy of a game that has stood the test of time.
Mhm. Now, I do agree with you in terms of Resident Evil 4 VR winning.
Mhm.
However, I am a little upset that Fract is not on here, which is the PlayStation VR game. It has sort of like a Borderlands art style. It is just bombastic balls to the wall action. You can like ski while shooting people. It has really intuitive cover-based shooting mechanics, and it's just not present. And this game reviewed wonderfully, and people said, "Wow, this is a game changer for VR." And it's not even on here. So shout out to Fract. However, my personal pick is Hitman 3.
Mhm.
And the reason why is Hitman is kind of a playground as it is, where you can approach situations kind of however you want to. And that in VR, I think is very compelling because VR is just such a tactile thing. It's easier to immerse yourself in an experience in VR. And Hitman in VR is just like it's weird because I never thought of it before, but it's almost a no-brainer. And I feel like that's an exciting concept. Um, and from what I hear, they did a pretty good job implementing it. So my personal pick, Hitman 3 in VR. But yeah, Resident Evil 4 VR is my prediction to win.
Taking the cake.
Taking the cake.
Cake.
That was a very gooey cake. Very moist. Very moist cake. Jesus Christ.